Sri Caitanya Jai Nityananda.
Jai Jai Sri Caitanya Jai Nityananda.
Jai Dvaita Chandra Jai Gaur Bhakta Vrinda.
Jai Dvaita Chandra Jai Gaur Bhakta Vrinda.
Jai Jai Sri Caitanya Jai Nityananda.
Jai Jai Sri Caitanya Jai Nityananda.
Jai Dvaita Chandra Jai Gaur Bhakta Vrinda.
Jai Dvaita Chandra Jai Gaur Bhakta Vrinda.
Jai Jai Sri Caitanya Jai Nityananda.
Jai Jai Sri Caitanya Jai Nityananda.
Jai Dvaita Chandra Jai Gaur Bhakta Vrinda.
Jai Dvaita Chandra Jai Gaur Bhakta Vrinda.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna. I'm very embarrassed to speak on this day in front of all of you, so please bless me so that I will be able to speak anything. It's within your interest. I'll read a few verses from Sri Caitanya Charitamrita from the Adi-lila, 4th chapter, confidential reasons for Lord Chaitanya's appearance, in which Srila Prabhupada explains the radha-tattva, the philosophy behind Srimati Radharani and her nature, which is very important to understand before we go to any lila. So I'll start with the verse number 68 to 71. I'll just chant the verses and read the translation and purports by His Divine Grace. Hladini-sara prema, prema-sara bhav, bhavera parama-kashta, nama mahabhav. The essence of Hladini potency is love of God. The essence of love of God is emotion, bhava. And the ultimate development of emotion is mahabhav, purport. The product of the Hladini-shakti is love of Godhead, which has two divisions, namely pure love of Godhead and adulterated love of Godhead. Only when the Hladini-shakti emanates from Sri Krishna and is bestowed upon the living being to attract him, does the living being become a pure lover of God. But when the same Hladini-shakti is adulterated by the external material energy and emanates from the living being, it does not attract Krishna. On the contrary, the living being becomes attracted to the glamour of material energy. At that time, instead of becoming mad with love of Godhead, the living being becomes mad after material sense enjoyment. And because of his association with the qualitative modes of material nature, he is captivated by its interactions of distressful, unhappy feelings. Mahabhava Swarupa Sri Radha-tattva Sarvaguna Khani Krishna Kanta Shiromani. Sri Radha-tattva is the embodiment of Mahabhava. She is the repository of all good qualities and the crest jewel among the lovely consorts of Lord Krishna. Purport. The unadulterated action of the Hladini-shakti is displayed in the dealings of the damsels of Raja and Srimati Radharani, who is the topmost participant in that transcendental group. The essence of the Hladini-shakti is love of Godhead. The essence of love of Godhead is bhava, or transcendental sentiment, and the highest pitch of that bhava is called mahabhava. Srimati Radharani is the personified embodiment of these three aspects of transcendental consciousness. She is therefore the highest principle of love of Godhead and is the supreme lovable object of Sri Krishna. Tayorapi Bayor Madhye Radhika Sarvatadika Mahabhava Svarupeyam Gunair Ati Varishya Variyasi. Of these two gopis, Radharani and Chandravali, Srimati Radharani is superior in all respects. She is the embodiment of Mahabhava, and she surpasses all in good qualities. This text is verse 2 of Ujjvala Nilamani of Srila Rupa Goswami. And the next verse, text 71. Krishna prema bhavita yandra chitendriya kaya, Krishna nija shakti radha kridara sahaya. Her mind, senses and body are steeped in love for Krishna. She is Krishna's own energy and she helps him in his pastimes. Purport. Srimati Radharani is as fully spiritual as Krishna. No one should consider her to be material. She is definitely not like the conditioned souls who have mental bodies, gross and subtle, covered by material senses. She is all spiritual, and both her body and mind are of the same spiritual embodiment. Because her body is spiritual, her senses are also spiritual. Thus her body, mind and senses fully shine in love of Krishna. She is the personified Hladini-shakti, the pleasure-giving energy of the Lord's internal potency. And therefore, she is the only source of enjoyment for Sri Krishna. Sri Krishna cannot enjoy anything that is internally different from him. Therefore, Radha and Sri Krishna are identical. The Sandhini portion of Sri Krishna's internal potency has manifested as the all-attractive form of Sri Krishna. And the same internal potency of the Hladini feature has presented Srimati Radharani, who is the attraction for the all-attractive. No one can match Srimati Radharani in the transcendental pastimes of Sri Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vijnana Goswami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Tarine Vanchakalpatarubhishya Kripa Sindhu Devacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Ajanulambit Bujokana Kavadata Sankirtana Ekapitaro Kamalaya Taksha Vishwambaro Dvijavaro Yugadharma Palo Vande Jagat Priyakaro Karunavataro Yantah Pravishimam Avachimam Prasuptam Sanjivayata Kila Shakti Darasvadanna Anyam Shahasta Charna Shravana Tvagadim Pranannamo Bhagavate Purushaya Hare Krishna. In this section of Sri Caitanya Charitamrita, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami describes in details the manifestations of three internal energies of Krishna: Sandhini-shakti, Samvid-shakti, and Hladini-shakti. According to the great acharyas, in particular Sridhar Swami, what is energy? Sridhar Swami gives the definition of energy, Shakti. Shakti is the manifestation of something which is internal, the external manifestation of something which is the internal. We know that any object or any subject which is there in this material world has some internal potencies. But just by looking externally, from the external point of view, we may not recognize what is there inside him. What is his abilities? Just by looking at a person, we will not be able to say exactly what he is, what's his intelligence and everything else. But the Shakti is the external manifestation of the internal potential which is there. Shakti helps to manifest externally what is there internally, and without the Shakti we would not be able to understand who is this person and what is his nature. So explaining the three main Shaktis, spiritual Shaktis of Krishna, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is actually explaining who is Krishna. And here Srila Prabhupada, he explains that Sandhini-shakti, his potency of existence, manifests the form of Krishna, the very attractive, beautiful form of Krishna. And Hladini-shakti manifests the form of Radharani, and basically Hladini-shakti is the most essential quality of Krishna, which is love. And in these verses of Sri Caitanya Charitamrita, the nature of this Hladini-shakti is explained, and the personification of this Shakti, or the most important quality of the Lord, of God, is Srimati Radharani. It is said, according to our philosophy, that who is Bhagavan, who is the personality of Godhead? Personality of Godhead is God who has Shaktis. Mayavadis, they have their conception of God, that God doesn't have any energy. He is just impersonal Brahman, which naturally doesn't manifest in any shape or form, because being deprived of any energy, he has no possibility of manifesting, and therefore it's very difficult to realize it. But Bhagavan is God, is the Supreme Personality who is endowed with all the energies which are there. And the main energy, he has only one energy. Sometimes it is said he has three energies, sometimes it is said he has many energies, but ultimately it's one energy which manifests in many different forms. And the essence of this energy, according to these verses of Sri Caitanya Charitamrita, is love, is Srimati Radharani. By the definition of the personality of Godhead, which is there in Vishnu Purana, definition of Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead, it is said, Aishvaryasya Samagrasya Viryasya Yasha Saksriya Jnana Vairagya Chaiva, that these six qualities or six manifestations, six energies compose or constitute Bhagavan. And among these six qualities, the main is Shri, which is the mercy, beauty, or love. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, by analyzing this verse, he says that different energies which are there, or different qualities of the Lord, or different energies in fact, mentioned in this verse from Vishnu Puran, explain partial manifestations of the Lord. But among these partial manifestations, which are called Anga, there is one which is Angi, which is the whole. And the whole is Shri, mercy, love, or beauty. And that is Srimati Radharani. Aishwarya, his lordliness. Aishwarya comes from the Lord Ishvara. So his Ishvarata, his majestic power is Aishwarya. And Virya means that he has multifarious energies, all kinds of energies are there. But then Shri is the most important, And Yasha means Mangalmaya Svarup. Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains what is Yasha, what is the fame of the Lord. The fame of the Lord is that any touch with the Lord brings auspiciousness. Mangalmaya Svarup means that whatever is connected with the Lord brings auspiciousness into the life of living entity who comes in touch with the fame of the Lord, with His name, with His qualities, with His pastimes. So this is Mangalmaya Svarup, as opposed to fame of ordinary living entities. In this material world, every living entity, as Srila Prabhupada explains in the first purport, is trying to imitate the Lord. Ultimately, we have minute qualities of the same, minute portions of the same qualities as the Lord has. So we have some fame. Mother Mukhya was reading my useless biography. I was totally embarrassed. First of all, because it's not all true. I'm not a GBC member for 2 years. But that's a fact for the fame of every living entity. First of all, it's not true. And it doesn't bring any auspiciousness when you come in touch with it. But as opposed to this, it is explained that the fame of Bhagavan, if you even come in little touch with the fame of Bhagavan, it brings about auspiciousness into your life. The example of it is, of course, Ajamil. Ajamil just had minute touch with the fame of the Lord in the form of his Narayan name. And this brought complete auspiciousness into his life. So that's Yasha, and another energy or quality of the Lord. But then, as I already said, the most important quality of the Lord is Sri. And Jnana and Vairagya, again, Bhaktivinoda Thakur is explaining that Jnana and Vairagya is just minute aspects of his fame. They are not really, all these descriptions are not really complete, or even, are not really complete unless we mention or stress his mercy. Sri. And we all know that original Sri is Srimati Radharani. She is the original beauty. And without her, we would not know who is Krishna. Our only chance to understand who is Krishna, because she is the prime energy, she is the most important energy of the Lord, and without her, nobody would know who is Krishna. And it's very interesting and it's very peculiar that if we see the history of Indian spirituality, we will be able clearly to see that even though Krishna has been known since time immemorial, and there are very ancient temples of Krishna, there is hardly any ancient temple of Srimati Radharani. There is no. Actually, before Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, even though the worship of Krishna was very prominent, and the worship of Krishna was existing in India and even outside of India. The Greek ambassador 2,500 years back, Heliodor, he writes that I became a devotee of Vasudeva Krishna. So this is a very ancient tradition to worship Krishna, but peculiarly without Srimati Radharani, which basically means that nobody really understood Krishna before Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. Only after Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu came to this world, only after Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu manifested love of Srimati Radharani in the fullest extent, people realized who is Krishna. And after the tradition of worshipping Krishna together with Srimati Radharani started. And we know that there was this great dispute in Jaipur where the followers of which sampradaya? Of Ramanandi Sampradaya, they were against worshipping Krishna with Srimati Radharani. And Baladev Vidyabhushan, of course, proved by writing his commentary to Vedanta Sutra, but actually, while writing this commentary, what is the point of writing this commentary to Vedanta Sutra? To prove that Srimati Radharani is the highest energy of the Lord. Which is, sometimes we say that Vedanta Sutra is a very dry philosophical treatise, but ultimately, according to our concept, according to our philosophy, every Vedic literature which is there, every word of Vedic literature ultimately speaks about the glory of Srimati Radharani. It's just without understanding of Caitanya Mahaprabhu and philosophy of Caitanya Mahaprabhu, it's very difficult to make this connection. You can philosophize in different way and try to understand Vedic literature in many different ways, but only when Caitanya Mahaprabhu came, it became very clear what the Vedic literature is all about. Ultimately, it's all about love. And who is Srimati Radharani? Srimati Radharani shows what does it mean to love. As it is said there, she is the essence of Hladini-shakti, or the pleasure potency is prema. And the essence of prema is bhav, or the sentiment, emotion, as Srila Prabhupada translates. What is the essence of love? Sometimes people, especially in English word, they say make love. It's just, it doesn't have anything to do with love. It's a very gross caricature of love. Because the essence of love is sentiment. The essence of love is bhav. But this sentiment, this feeling, Srimati Radharani is explained in these verses, in the purports of these verses. Srila Prabhupada says that Srimati Radharani, her body is completely spiritual, 100% spiritual. And her body is not, it has nothing to do with the gross material bodies which we have and which we used to relate to. Her body is made of bhav. The whole spiritual world is called Bhava Jagat. We are living in the world which is called Jada Jagat, which is basically the world of dead matter. But Bhava Jagat is the world which is made of love. Everything in the spiritual world is made of love. And the highest manifestation of this love is the form of Srimati Radharani. Later in Adi-lila of Chaitanya Charitamrita, Ramananda Roy will start describing the form of Srimati Radharani. And it's very difficult how to describe the form which has no material connotation, which has no material association. So he describes in a very poetic manner how every limb of her body, every ornament which is there on her body, the dress which is there on her body is all sentiments, different sentiments which she manifests in her relationship or in her dealings with Krishna. Actually, when we read about Srimati Radharani, we have to understand, because sometimes it's very easy to miss the point. It's very easy to get a very gross material picture of what's going on. Srila Prabhupada once gave a funny example. He says, when we see a boy and girl together, or when we look in the picture of a boy or girl, we immediately have a very clear conception of what's going on between them. But when it comes to Krishna and Srimati Radharani, it's a completely different story. I remember once I brought to Mayapur, there were two Russian couple who came, and they didn't know anything about Krishna. They came to Mayapur. And they stood in front of Radha Madhava. And of course, Radha Madhava is there, and the 8 Sakhis are around Radha and Krishna. And the boy, he immediately bowed down because it was so majestic. And the girl was really unhappy to see the things because she clearly understood what's going on there. There is one male and so many females, and she didn't like it. So, and Prabhupada says, when we look at the picture of boy and girl, we have the wrong projection. We project our material experience into the dealings which is between them two. And Prabhupada gave a funny example. He says that there was a cow, and the cow was once caught by fire. And the cow ran away from the fire, and ever since, whenever this particular cow would see some red color, she would become frightened and run away because of her experience. Her experience with fire was projected into any other experience. And Prabhupada gave this example to let us understand that the projection, when we try to project our understanding into the spiritual realm, it's actually suicidal. It can bring about very grave consequences. And therefore here he explains, and Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami explains, that dealings between Radha and Krishna is the dealings between spiritual Krishna and his spiritual energy. It has nothing to do with matter, and has nothing to do with the adulterated forms of dealings which are so typical for the living beings in this material world. He says that when, in the first purport, when this so-called love is manifested in this material world, it's repulsive to Krishna. Therefore, when we take any spiritual tradition, every spiritual tradition, it brings some limitations to this particular area of human life. Because ultimately, it deprives us the spiritual understanding of God. To enter into this sort of dealings, we have to completely identify ourselves with matter. We are deprived this chance even to understand the spiritual emotions, and therefore, in this series of verses, it is so much stressed that this love which is there between the Lord and Srimati Radharani is completely spiritual. The essence of Hladini-shakti is prema, love. What is enjoyment? Ultimately, the essence of enjoyment is love. When we take any enjoyment in this world, we will understand that the essence of enjoyment is the attachment which is there. If you don't have attachment to a particular taste or whatever, then even though it may be from the objective point of view is a very nice taste, you will not be able to enjoy because you don't have the attachment. So it is said that the essence of enjoyment is love. The essence of love is sentiment. The essence of love is this very elevated feeling which is there. There is no other essence of love. The love, all these gross things, has nothing to do with love. It's just the feelings, which is very difficult to describe. And the essence of feelings is Mahabhav. And Mahabhav is the feelings which are not really possible to experience in this material world. In this material world, we may have some sentiments. And when people have this sentimental love, and the sentimental love is there, they do get very great and very deep, profound enjoyment. But it is specifically said that when we're talking about spiritual love, even if we understand that it's completely sentimental, it doesn't have anything, any gross analog or whatever, still there is Mahabhav, and the essence of Mahabhav is Srimati Radharani. The essence of Mahabhav, the manifestation of Mahabhav is Sri Radha-tattva, which is the complete manifestation of love. Therefore, the very word Radha means the syllable Ra comes from Rag. Rag means attachment. Rag means this complete attachment, and of course we know that there is this material attachment, but there is a spiritual attachment. As Prabhupada beautifully explains in the purport to the last verses, that she is the attraction of all attractive. This rag is the actually essence of consciousness, the attraction. So Ra means attachment. Dha comes from Sanskrit word dhavamana, running. This particular word Radha or name Radha appeared or is connected with the spiritual appearance of Srimati Radharani. It is said that Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in his spiritual abode, at one point from his left side the female figure appeared, which is the manifestation of his own energy. And immediately this female figure started running towards Krishna. Please don't ask me how she could run towards Krishna if she just appeared from Krishna. To run towards Krishna, you need to be at some distance, but it's a spiritual world, so in the spiritual world everything is possible. So she appeared from his body, and immediately she started running toward him, feeling very strong and immense attraction. And therefore this Radha, she is running because of this attraction. We are also running towards certain things which are attractive. It is said in Srimad Bhagavatam, what is this? Manoratheti dhavato bahih. We are running bahih, we are running to the external things, external world. We are attracted to the external world, but she doesn't have any attraction to anything external. She only has attraction to the Lord himself, and therefore she is Radha. Or sometimes the syllable Ra is produced from the word rasa, which is the taste of relationship. So either way, Radha means or signifies the attraction. And the etymology of the word Radha, according to the dictionaries, the common dictionaries, is that Radha iti Krishnam iti Radha. Who is Radha? Sometimes Aradha iti Krishnam iti Radha. Radha is the one who is the best worshipper of Krishna. But there is another etymology or another etymological meaning of the word Radha or the name Radha, which is Radhyate Krishnena iti Radha, the one who is being worshipped by Krishna. And the philosophy behind this, it's all Radha. She is the best worshipper of Krishna, but being the best worshipper of Krishna, she invokes the reciprocation from Krishna, and Krishna starts worshipping her. The foundational verse in this regard is the verse which Madhvacharya quotes in his commentary to Vedanta Sutra, which actually ultimately glorifies Radha. This verse from Shruti, from Mantra Shruti, says that Nayati Vainam Bhaktir Vainam Nayati, Bhaktir Vainam Darshayati, Bhaktir Vasha Purusham, and Bhaktir Eva Bhuyasi. There is nothing higher than love. Bhaktir Eva Bhuyasi. There is nothing more powerful than love. Why? because love is something which can bring you closer to God. Bhaktir evainam nayati. The love is this force which can bring you close to God. Bhakti Revainam Darshayati, this very bhakti, this very love can give you darshan of God. You can actually only see God if you have love. If you don't have love and you look at this, you will not see God. Premanjana churite bhakti vilochanena santak sadaiva hridayesha vilokayanti. You can only see God if your eyes are smeared with love. You will only see some matter. You will only see stone. You will not see God. So therefore it is said, Bhaktir evainam darshayati. You will only be able to see God if you have love. And then Bhaktir vasha purusho. By bhakti, you can conquer over God. Mother Hari Puja, she was mentioning this. Jito jito pyasitai strilokyam. By love, you can conquer unconquerable God. And this is also the meaning of word Radha. Radha is the one who has conquered God completely. And therefore, our definition of, or the meaning of word Radha, Radhyate Krishnena iti Radha. Aradhyate Krishnena iti Radha. Radha is the one who is being worshipped by Krishna. It is said, there is a beautiful verse that the great yogis, they are looking for Krishna everywhere. They are meditating, they are looking for him in samadhi, they are going to Himalayas, and they cannot find him. And ultimately, after many, many millions of years, by meditating upon the Lord and trying to find the Lord, they come to Vrindavan, and whether they see Krishna, Krishna is worshipping Radharani. That's the place where you can find Krishna. The only place where you can find Krishna is where Radha is, because that's his eternal engagement, his eternal pastime. He is worshipping Radha by accepting or reciprocating with her love. And that's the meaning of the word Radha. And of course, today is her appearance day, and therefore it's proper to describe the pastime of her appearance. And there are basically two different pastimes which are there in the Vedic literature. Vedic literature is very scarce when it comes to describe Radha's pastimes. It's also peculiar because there is plenty of pastimes of Krishna described in different Puranas, but you hardly find any pastimes of Srimati Radharani described in Puranas. Her qualities are described. In Padma Purana, in great details, her qualities and different attributes are being described. But her pastimes, the Vedic literature is very shy when it comes to describe the pastimes of Radha. Why? Again, because of the same problem. Because there is there is a big chance that we will misunderstand these pastimes, the nature of these pastimes, because we will project our tendency to enjoy into the same pastimes. It is actually, there is a beautiful pastime described how Narada Muni first saw Srimati Radharani. It is said when Narada Muni heard that Krishna appeared in this world, he came first to Mathura and he couldn't find Krishna, and then ultimately he came to Gokul and he saw baby Krishna, and he was completely enamored and completely attracted and enchanted by the beauty of Krishna. And he started praising Krishna secretly, and immediately he starts thinking, if Krishna has appeared in this world, it must mean that his energy also appeared somewhere else. He cannot appear without his energy, his internal energy, and immediately he developed very strong desire to find or to search for the internal energy of Lord Krishna, because again, the same point is there. You cannot understand Krishna without understanding his energy. The only way to understand Krishna is to understand his energy. And therefore, after seeing Krishna, Narada Muni starts searching for Srimati Radharani. And he was knocking in the doors of all these villagers in Gokul. And he's going round and round and round, and he couldn't find. And ultimately, he knocks at the door of the house of Vrishabhanu Maharaj in Raval. And that time, when Nanda Maharaj was living in Gokul Mahavan, Vrishabhanu Maharaj was living in Raval. And he knocks on the door and he asks, "Do you have any children?" And Vrishabhanu Maharaj says, "Yes, I have one son. He's a very beautiful boy." And Narada Muni says, "Please show me your son." And immediately he says, "Son, it cannot be his energy. Energy should be female." But still he says, "Please show me your son." And Sridham comes. Sridham is the elder brother of Srimati Radharani. And Narada Muni sees him and he gives him blessings. This boy will be the best friend of Sri Krishna. And Vrishabhanu Maharaj become very pleased. And Narada Muni wants to leave the house and to go and to continue for his search for the energy of the Lord. And at that point, Vrishabhanu Maharaj says, very shyly, almost being embarrassed, he says, "You know, I also have a baby girl, daughter, who was just born, but unfortunately she is blind, deaf and dumb. And because you are so great sage, maybe if you give the blessings to her, she will become, she will be able to see, to hear and to speak." And Narada Muni becomes very intrigued. And he says, "Yes, please show me this baby girl who was just born." And he goes to the Antarpur, to the internal section of the house of Vrishabhanu Maharaj, and sees this beautiful shining girl with closed eyes laying there in the cradle. And immediately Narada Muni becomes jubilant. He feels the presence of the internal energy, because when the living being becomes purified, he develops the quality or the attraction towards the spiritual energy. Now we have the attraction towards material energy because we are contaminated. But the pure state of consciousness is this state of consciousness which feels the attraction. So Narada Muni becomes very jubilant, and he wants to worship this girl. But at the same time, he feels uneasy because the father of this girl is there, and he doesn't want to spoil his Vatsalya rasa with this girl. And he says to Vrishabhanu Maharaj, "I want to give the name-giving ceremony to this girl. So please collect all the ingredients for us to make this ritual as soon as possible." And Vrishabhanu Maharaj leaves. And when he leaves, Narada Muni bows down, folds his hands and starts glorifying Srimati Radharani. And she manifests her full-blown form, her Kishori form as a young girl. And Narada Muni continues his prayers, and then all of a sudden this Kishori form again becomes a baby with closed eyes and lays there in the cradle. And Narada Muni, he looks behind and he sees Vrishabhanu Maharaj is standing there. So Vrishabhanu Maharaj didn't see the Kishori form of Srimati Radharani, but he saw how Narada Muni was praying to the girl, and he's asking, "What's going on? Why you're praying? You're a great sage." He says, "Oh, this is a special ritual. I'm doing some special yagya now for her protection. I am just chanting all these prayers for her protection." So in this way, this first darshan of Srimati Radharani was given to Narada Muni. And of course we know she only opened her eyes when Lord Krishna came, and she didn't want to see anyone besides Krishna in this world. And I don't know what to do, because now it's the time for Abhishek. Shall I continue or shall I? Okay.
How many? 10 more minutes.
10 more minutes, okay. Okay. So, even though it is said that the birthday of Srimati Radharani is 15 days later than Krishna's birthday, and we celebrate dutifully Srimati Radharani's birthday 15 days later after Janmashtami, on Radhastami day. But ultimately we have to understand that Krishna cannot appear in this world without his energy. And this is some riddle, and Srila Rupa Goswami, he deciphers this riddle, and he explains this riddle. He says that in reality, Srimati Radharani appeared in this world on the same day as Krishna. Because when Bhagavan appears, he cannot appear without his energy. So she appeared, but there is a long story behind her appearance. And this long story behind her appearance started when Parvati Devi appeared as the daughter of Himalaya mountains. Himalaya mountains, the Himavat Raj, was performing some austerities, and as a result of these austerities, Parvati Devi appeared as his daughter, and because she is the eternal consort of Lord Shiva, ultimately the marriage of Lord Shiva and Parvati was performed, and that's a big story in the Puranas. And that was such a great festival and great celebration that it was known all over the world that Parvati Devi appeared from Himavat and was married with Lord Shiva. And everyone started praising Himalaya mountains. But Himalaya mountains are relatively young mountains. Even according to the modern scientists, Himalayas appeared, they're still growing. They're not old mountains. There are much older mountains. And one of them is Vindhya Mountain. Vindhya Mountain in the south of India is very, very old and senior mountain. And Vindhya Mountain said it's Maryada Vyatikrama. This young boy, Himalaya, he's glorified all over the place. They say Parvati Devi appeared as his daughter. Who he thinks he is? and he decided, okay, I will, his son-in-law is Mahadev, Shiva. So he said, I need to have one daughter so that my son-in-law will defeat Mahadev. So this Vindhya mountain started severe austerities, performing for long time, worshipping Lord Brahma. And ultimately Lord Brahma appeared in front of Vindhya mountain, and Vindhya mountain, the personified Vindhya mountain, asked Lord Brahma, please give me the benediction so that my son-in-law will be more powerful than Mahadev, Lord Shiva. And immediately, being pleased, Lord Brahma says, Tathastu, let it be so. And then Lord Brahma and Vindhya mountain become pacified and goes back. And he's sure that it will happen. But Lord Brahma is not sure how it will happen. Because after some time he realized that, now I have to do something. Who is that who can defeat Mahadev? Mahadev is the most powerful god among gods. Who is that possible? And then ultimately he remembers, Krishna is about to appear. Very soon Krishna will appear. So he has to become the son-in-law of this Vindhya mountain. So therefore I have to pray that his energy will appear as the daughter of Vindhya mountain. Because Srimati Radharani is the eternal daughter of Kirtida Devi and Vrishabhanu Maharaj. But Srila Rupa Goswami explains how she appeared on the same day as Krishna, but from Vindhya mountain. And the story behind this is that Lord Brahma started performing austerities. It's not only the austerity of Vindhya mountain. On the top of the austerities of Vindhya mountain, there is an austerity of Lord Brahma. So the double strength of these austerities, and he's worshipping Lord Krishna, Lord Brahma, and saying, please come. And when Lord Krishna comes, he says, and asks Lord Brahma about the benediction, he says, please fulfill my desire and let your eternal energy will be born as from Vindhya mountain. And when Srimati Radharani was ultimately born on the same day, on Janmashtami day, from Vindhyachal, Vindhya mountain became very jubilous, and after 14 days, because it is a custom, after 14 days you have to have elaborate yagya, elaborate ceremony. And Vindhya mountain, in the meantime, he collected all the most powerful brahmanas from all over India. The most powerful brahmanas came to perform the proper ceremony for Srimati Radharani's appearance. And they started huge yagya. But in the meantime, what happened on Janmashtami day, or rather on Nandotsava day, on the next day after Krishna's appearance, we know that Kamsa was trying to kill Maya Devi, who appeared as the daughter of Devaki, actually, the daughter of Yashoda, and Vasudeva brought it to Mathura. And when she slipped out from Kamsa's hands, she said that the eighth son of Devaki was born somewhere else, and she also said that his energy was born somewhere else. And if you somehow or other will be able to possess his energy, you will be able to conquer him. Ultimately, he is much more powerful than you, but you will become the most powerful if you will be able to possess the energy of the Lord. That's the eternal pastimes of all the demons. They are trying to encroach upon the energy of the Lord. And therefore, Kamsa became very thoughtful. And when this council took place, when the Putana was appointed as the main baby killer, baby murderer, Kamsa said, you kill all the male children which are there, born in India, but you should also kidnap all the females. So when Putana was traveling, hunting for newborn babies, she ultimately came to this place where the sacrifice was going on. Vindhyachal mountain was performing this sacrifice for Srimati Radharani and her sister, because Srimati Radharani was born together with Chandravali, her twin sister. And these two beautiful girls were there, and when Putana saw these beautiful girls, she immediately remembered the order of Kamsa. And she immediately went down and picked these two girls and started flying. With a great speed, started flying. And when she was flying, all the brahmanas, they became enraged. And all these most powerful brahmanas, they started chanting powerful mantras. And because of the influence of these mantras, which these powerful brahmanas were chanting, Putana was feeling weaker and weaker and weaker. She felt that she is not able even to fly so high, and these two baby girls became very heavy. And ultimately she dropped the first girl, which was Chandravali, because she couldn't hold her. And Chandravali fell down in the river, Vaidarbha river, and became the daughter of King Bhishmaka, that's king of Vidarbha. And she flew little more, and she was approaching Mathura, and at that time the most powerful mantras were chanted, and she became so weak that she couldn't even hold this little baby. And she dropped Srimati Radharani, and Srimati Radharani fell down into the river Yamuna. And she fell down in the river Yamuna on the beautiful lotus flower, exactly in the place where Vrishabhanu Maharaj was living. Vrishabhanu Maharaj went to river Yamuna, and he started performing his bas, and he was meditating on the energy of the Lord. And when he opened his eyes, he saw a beautiful lotus flower and brilliant baby girl in this lotus flower. So this is how she appeared, and because now it's the time for Abhishek, we have to finish our class. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.